Breaking: State Department responds to North Korea arrested a U.S. citizen. An American citizen has been detained by the North Korean government in the latest of a series of provocations from Kim Jong-un's regime, the Associated Press reported, and it didn't take long for President Donald Trump's State Department to respond. Tony Kim, who also goes by his Korean name, Kim Sang-duk, was detained by authorities Saturday as he was boarding a plane to China with his wife. Kim became the third American citizen in the custody of the North Korean government. The 58-year-old Kim is employed as a professor at the Pyongyang University of Science and Technology, where he had taught accounting for about a month, Chancellor Park Chan-mo said. He added that Kim's teaching at the university, North Korea's only private institution of higher learning, had nothing to do with his detention by authorities. According to CNN, the school said this detention is related to an investigation into matters not connected in any way with the work of PUST. We cannot comment on anything that Mr. Kim may be alleged to have done that is not related to his teaching work on the PUST campus. The U.S. State Department promptly issued a terse statement about Kim's detention. We are aware of reports that a U.S. citizen was detained in North Korea, a State Department official said. The protection of U.S. citizens is one of the department's highest priorities. They added that they were working with the Swedish embassy to secure Kim's release, because the United States doesn't have diplomatic relations with North Korea. Sweden handles America's consular affairs in the communist state. While details of Kim's detention were not immediately made public, North Korean state media hadn't even announced the arrest. We have little doubt this was yet another instance of saber-rattling by Kim Jong-un. It's the latest wrinkle in what's become Trump's biggest test, neutralizing the insane North Korean regime. Our thoughts and prayers are with Kim and his family. Let's hope that he can be released without capitulating to any insane demands from Kim Jong-un. Trump responds after Dems threaten blockage of emergency spending measure. President Donald Trump unleashed his wrath against Democrats Sunday on Twitter after he learned that they plan to reject an emergency spending measure that reportedly includes funding for his proposed border wall. The Democrats don't want money from budget going to border wall despite the fact that it will stop drugs and very bad MS-13 gang members, he wrote. Whether or not the construction of a wall would in fact put a halt to cartel activity along the border remains unclear, though common sense logic suggests it would at least affect it. Moreover, such an impact would be a boon for frustrated Border Patrol agents. The president's tweet was inspired by remarks made by top Democrats claiming that they would reject all attempts to appropriate money for the border wall. The wall is, in my view, immoral, expensive, unwise, and when the president says, "Well, I promised a wall during my campaign," I don't think he said he was going to pass billions of dollars of cost of the wall onto the taxpayer, House Minority Nancy Pelosi said Sunday on Meet the Press. In an additional tweet posted minutes after his first one, the president added that while funding for the border wall will initially come from the government's coffers, it will eventually be procured from Mexico in one way or another. Eventually, but at a later date so we can get started early, Mexico will be paying, in some form, for the badly needed border wall, he wrote. The best idea so far for paying for the wall entails taxing remittances. Specifically, a bill unveiled earlier this month by Alabama Representative Mike Rogers would aim to tax money transfers from the United States to the home countries of illegal immigrants at a rate of 2%. Until that bill or something similar passes the House and Senate, however, Trump must make do with government money, assuming the pesky Democrats don't block his way. HT The Daily Caller. Please share this story on Facebook and Twitter and let us know what you think about President Donald Trump's wrathful Twitter takedown of the congressional Democrats refusing to fund his border wall. What do you think about his tweets? Scroll down to comment below. Trump discovers Obama was spending $300 million on fake Afghan soldiers, gives Pentagon new orders. Millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars were being foolishly wasted paying for the salaries of non-existent ghost soldiers and policemen in Afghanistan under the Obama administration, but no more. According to the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, John Sobko, who recently sat down for an interview with Cheryl Atkinson of Full Measure. The ongoing problem may have been worse than anyone realized, but was being addressed by President Donald Trump's Pentagon. "We've been raising this concern about ghosts going back a number of years," stated Sobko. "Actually, I want to say we heard about it from Afghan President Ashraf Ghani years ago. Before he became president, he warned me about ghosts, so we started looking 3 years ago. What we're talking about are policemen, Afghan military, Afghan civil servants who don't exist or they have multiple identity cards and we're paying their salaries," he explained. "By we I mean the United States and the international community. And we started finding out that we had no capacity to measure the number of soldiers, teachers, doctors, military people who we are paying their salaries." Fox News reported in October that the fraud could have amounted to more than $300 million annually. Asked if this indicated fraud had been taking place, Sobko replied, "Major fraud. And what's happening is the commanders or generals or other higher officials are actually pocketing the salaries of the ghosts." And I remember President Ghani again, at that time he wasn't president, saying, "John, you the United States government are paying the salary of an Afghan who's a teacher, he's a civil servant, he's a doctor, he is a policeman, and he's a soldier. And it's the same Afghan. And he doesn't exist," Sobko explained. "It's not just the salaries," he added. "But we're funding schools based upon the number of students, so if you invent or inflate the number of students, you're going to be paying more money. On the soldiers and the police, we're paying for extra boots, for food, for everything else, logistics for numbers that don't exist." Sobko had alerted the Pentagon on numerous occasions to what he had discovered in 2016, but little was done to address the issue by the administration of President Barack Obama, though Fox News reported that the Pentagon had stated at the time that they would soon implement certain measures to try and combat the rampant fraud bilking U.S. taxpayers of hundreds of millions of dollars. Guided by the new no-nonsense leadership of the Defense Department under Trump, it would appear that those measures, among many others, were being implemented in Afghanistan with measurable results. According to the independent journal Review, Atkinson noted that the Pentagon had implemented a biometric system that checked such things as fingerprints, photographs and even blood type in an effort to obtain proof of life of Afghan service members in order to weed out the non-existent ghosts that have cost taxpayers so much. In fact, the Pentagon claimed that it had already enrolled in the program up to 95% of the Afghan police and 70–80% of soldiers in the Afghan National Army. While it is highly doubtful that any of the taxpayer dollars lost through this fraud will ever be recovered, at least steps have been taken to ensure more dollars aren't similarly wasted in the seemingly never-ending bid to reconstruct Afghanistan. Please share this on Facebook and Twitter to help spread the word about the non-existent ghost soldiers in Afghanistan that have been bleeding American taxpayers dry for years. What do you think of the ghost soldiers in Afghanistan defrauding American taxpayers? Scroll down to comment below. $0 Rex Tillerson just threatened Putin with something huge. This is it. Today Rex Tillerson proved to the world that he has no great love for Russia by laying out an ultimatum that would shake even Putin to the core. The State Department revealed that in a late-night call Secretary Tillerson made his demands. Tillerson said all sanctions against Russia will remain until they give Crimea back to Ukraine. In his phone call with Ukrainian President Poroshenko Sunday night, Tillerson said the sanctions will remain in place until Russia returns control of the Crimean Peninsula to Ukraine. That was not the only condition that Tillerson put on Putin, however. He also demanded that Moscow must honor the ceasefire in eastern Ukraine that was outlined in the Minsk agreements. It's honestly kind of funny. You hear all these liberals trying to say that Rex Tillerson works with Putin because he worked for Exxon. Honestly, if this doesn't prove to them he is 100% American, then there is no helping those losers. But hey, at least we have a chance to help. Clearly, Secretary Tillerson wanted to get his message out, that's why the State Department reported on it. Let's give him a hand and get this shared with everyone. US to North Korea, we will attack if you do any of these 5 things. The US has laid out its red lines to North Korea, and warned it will attack if Kim Jong-un crosses them. America will launch a preemptive strike against the Hermit Kingdom if it attacks a military base or gets anywhere near developing a missile capable of reaching the U.S. mainland, Donald Trump's UN ambassador has revealed. The U.S. also warned Crazy Kim's trigger-happy regime against testing any other missiles, any nuclear weapons, or taking any other provocative action. It is the first time Trump's administration has laid out the conditions which it would force it to act. Unfortunately, the tubby tyrant is expected to cross at least one of the red lines today. Nikki Haley, U.S. ambassador to the UN, warned Kim against picking a fight with America and giving us a reason to attack. She said, "We're not going to do anything unless he gives us a reason to do something. So our goal is not to start a fight." Asked under what conditions the U.S. would launch a preemptive strike, she said, "If you see him attack a military base, if you see some sort of intercontinental ballistic missile, then obviously we're going to do that. Right now, we're saying, don't test, don't use nuclear missiles, don't try and do any more actions." The envoy said Trump would step in if Kim fires a nuke or ICBM. But the dear leader shows no sign of stepping back from the brink of World War III. He is expected to test a nuke or a ballistic missile today to mark Military Foundation Day. It is the 85th anniversary of the founding of the Korean People's Army, and the dumpy despot likes to celebrate big dates by trying out his new toys. Haley said Kim was trying to flex his muscles because he is under pressure. She said, "I think he's just trying to show his strength to the people of his country, but it's not going to work." Trump has sent his largest nuclear submarine, the USS Michigan, to join nuclear aircraft carrier the USS Carl Vinson in warships from South Korea and Japan massing off the North Korean coast.